Live.
Hey everybody, welcome to Talking Toast. You have a few minutes to grab a drink, grab a friend, and grab a friend a drink.
Yeah.
But don't grab your friend's drink.
Don't steal your friend's drink.
Don't steal your friend's drink.
Yeah. We gotta share. It's the season of sharing.
Season of sharing. So tonight we are drinking the Dream Crusher. Dream Crusher from Deep Ellum Brewing Company out of Texas. Brought to us by our favorite beer supplier, Judy Calvert. Thank you, Judy from Dallas, who sends beer our way through our friends, the Hardings.
That's right.
So we're always grateful for anyone who chooses to supply us with beer for Talking Toast.
Or wine
or your favorite holiday drink. We will take whatever.
We don't discriminate around here.
We don't. We are open and affirming of all drinks. What's funny is Judy always gives us a nice collection of beer, and it takes us a while to get through her collection. That we don't drink a lot during the week, and so we get to Talking Toast, and we're still working on the same six-pack.
That's right. It's good stuff.
But it's good stuff. Welcome, everybody. We'll get started officially in a couple of minutes. So maybe take this time,
to catch your breath.
To share this on Facebook if it's meaningful to you.
Or
YouTube. Wherever.
Because we are on YouTube Live right now as well. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Let us know in the chat if you are on. It looks like we've got it looks like we are live, and it sounds like we are
We've
live.
got people.
We got people.
They're
let
slowly trickling.
Let us know where you're viewing from tonight. Let us know how cold it is outside.
It is really cold here, y'all.
It is, yeah. Well, my watch just died. But
it's 30 degrees here.
It is 30 degrees?
It is 30 degrees here. And it like barely got to 40 today.
Yeah.
It was...
I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
It makes me so happy.
It's great. You know what I really love doing?
What's that?
So, where we do Talking Toast is my desk. This is where I work for the day. And I love sitting here at my desk and turning my heater on as hot as it goes. And just like getting roasty toasty in here.
Roasty toasty.
And it's fantastic because I'm like almost to the point of sweating, and then I'll walk outside and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go back to work, to my desk. So yeah,
please remind me, we've got to get rid of that heater. We got to get another heater.
All right, we'll get another heater. Don't worry about us, we're good. I'm not using the recalled heater. I'm not at all. I didn't use it today.
Good.
Mom, I didn't use it today.
Oh, so we start off. It is 8:28. This is Talking Toast. This is a chance for the two of us to pull back the curtain on the creative process. That is the sermon writing process for us. And also just to talk about life in general and the things that are going on. And we want to know what's going on in your world too, and what connections you have to these kinds of scriptures in some cases, stories, things that are going on with us too.
Yeah.
So, let us know once again where you're watching from tonight and how cold it is, and then we'll start the sharing that way. But each week we begin with a question, and that is, what is sustaining you? What is getting you through? What is that 808 beat? What is the thing that's bringing you along? What is your undercurrent? What's sustaining you?
What is keeping you afloat?
What is keeping you afloat? You want to start off tonight? What is sustaining you? And friends, you're invited to chime in on what's sustaining you too. Yeah.
I've checked in with a lot of people about Thanksgiving last week, and a lot of people were like, yeah, it was good. and you hear in their voice when they say that, they're like, it was an experience. But I wanted to say that my Thanksgiving experience was just delightful. Mostly because I got to play with our nephew.
Yeah.
And I got to be Aunt Kit Kat. And Aunt Kit Kat. And got to play with Sonny, our little 1.5-year-old nephew. And I think I'm not his favorite family member outside of his family, but I'm close. I'm getting there, and that's my goal, is to work up, because he is just delightful. Yes. And we had so much fun getting to know him, and he's at like such a fun age that
one happy kid.
You know, we got to engage with him and play and walk and talk, and the joy was just exuding from him and from all of us. So that was awesome.
It was fun to be around a kid too and not have to change the diapers.
That was awesome. You know, we haven't really gotten the, like, I mean, he's our first nibbling. He's that's
Minion.
What he's our first. That's the gender neutral term for the child of your sibling. Nibbling. It's true. Look it up. He's our first nibbling, and so it's been fun to like, and we had the first child in our family, so we always were the ones doing the diaper changing at family events, and like that was our role. But now that we've got a little nibbling, we don't have to do that. We can rile him up, and then his parents can deal with him putting him to sleep and stuff. It's great.
Nibbling. Let us know if you've heard that term before. I have never, ever heard that term before.
It's true.
It sounds like a morsel. You know what
I mean? He is kind of a morsel.
A little morsel. A little nibbling.
Little nibbling. So that term came about as awareness about non-binary terms for human beings has kind of been on the roll. So as people have been,
it's a plural
talking
term,
about
right?
as people have been talking about pronouns, they've also been talking about non-gendered words to replace very gendered words like nephew and niece, where there's not really a non-gendered one. So now there is nibbling. He's our nibbling. It's such a perfect term for it, though.
Yeah, he is a little nibbling. Well, good.
Yeah. So, what's sustaining you?
Well, good time.
Learning a new term, nibbling.
Good time with family was good, and then I came back here, and I don't know what it's been about this time, but I've just had some good like little conversations with friends. Mm-hmm. And I'm really, really grateful for those friends that are in, I'll just say my life, that you can catch up with, and it's almost like no time has passed in between. You just pick up wherever you
left off. Yeah.
And there is something just special about that. And I'm really grateful at this stage in the journey for those types of friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Those are special friends.
Yeah. So I got a text message back and forth with one that I forgot her birthday. And anyway, so it was okay. No skin. and then another friend today, music friend, called and had a really good catch up with him, and it was just, I don't know, good stuff. Good friends.
It's the people around us. Like, that's the thing. It is the people around us who keep us going in so many ways. Like, why are you looking at my hat?
Because it's Strand Books. I thought you were going to say it's the people around us and books. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's your favorite bookstore,
It
right?
is one of my favorite bookstores. But it's the people around us that keep us going. And to be honest, like, the two of us have had just like some anxiety going on, and I think some of it's just the season.
I'm going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah,
hold on.
But I think recognizing the people and places through whom we get we receive delight and are kept afloat. Like those are the important folks to keep around.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, I haven't seen anybody on the chat yet.
Yep, but there are people. There are people.
If you're out
It's
there
good.
and you'd like to share what's sustaining you,
No
or if
pressure.
you'd like to say what,
This is the
I
fourth
kind of just
time
want
you've
to
begged.
I just want to make sure the chat's working.
I've got an eye on it. We're good.
All right.
We're good. We're doing this thing. So we are entering into the season of Advent.
We're not entering into it. Last Sunday was the first
Chantel
Sunday.
says we're just being weird.
Perfect.
So is John.
Thank you, Chantel.
It's good.
You'll call me out for anything else while we're here. Keep going.
So last Sunday, 3 days ago, I guess it was, we kicked off the season of Advent.
Kicked it.
It was the first Sunday of the church calendar year. So we begin with this season of Lent, of Advent. There is like some aggressive coloring going on over here, and I am distracted. Hey, can we not be so aggressive with the coloring?
Be on your iPad, please.
I am.
Just
I'm looking at the...
okay. Just quiet coloring, please. So, we kicked off the season of Advent with a focus on hope, on Isaiah, on Jeremiah.
Yeah. Sorry.
And so we are going on this Advent journey alongside a tool that we're using. I just looked over there. It's not down here. I think it's in my backpack somewhere. But we're using this tool, Season's Greetings, a book by Reverend Dr. Ruth L. Bowling. And she was on Talking Toast last time we were on. So go back and watch the Talking Toast with her. It will give you some insight into what we're doing this Advent season. But basically what we're doing is we're going to pull a monologue each week from Ruth's book that speaks to the Bible reading that comes up in the lectionary that week. Mm-hmm. So we are pairing these monologues that are really just letters to 21st century Christians, written theoretically by people who were there in the story, in the Christmas story. And it's all about the question, what Christmas means to me.
Yeah. And so this week, we'll start off with a monologue that works really, really well with the Luke passage that you will be preaching from. Mm-hmm. But this monologue is from Zechariah. And I love it. I think it's a really well written kind of thing, mm-hmm. and it's got the proper amount of snark and the proper amount of keeping you wondering where is he going with this? It's good stuff.
So let's review.
Yeah.
Who is Zechariah?
So Zechariah is of the priestly tribe. His father was a priest, a Levite priest. His grandfather was, a grandfather before that. So he's in this priestly lineage. And Zechariah marries Elizabeth. And they're in their old age. And an angel comes to Zechariah and says, guess what? You're about to...
It's happening!
Yeah, you're going to have a child. And so... we can get into some of those things with that. It's not necessarily the focus on the child part of this. What the focus is Zechariah asks a question how basically, mm-hmm. And it's from that question that Zechariah is struck mute. He cannot speak anymore.
Every pregnant woman's dream. For her spouse
to shut up.
For her spouse to be struck mute.
Anyway, So Zechariah asks this one question, and then is throughout the rest of the pregnancy, which is pretty much all of the pregnancy, he can't speak. And so the text that you're going to speak from is Zechariah's kind of first words, his song.
Yep.
But the monologue comes from afterwards and looking back on that moment and like saying what Zechariah is thinking about. And it struck me that this is all because he asked this question. And you mentioned earlier like the anxiety and the there's a different feeling, and I don't know how to describe it. Rob Bell would say, tell me, did things change for you in the pandemic? And everybody would probably say, yeah, like a lot of things changed. Do you feel like you were changed in the pandemic? Yeah, I was changed in the pandemic. Well, how would you describe that? And very few people, I think, can put words to that change, that feeling, that kind of thing. I think there is a similar feeling now, and I think it has something to do with the pandemic, but I don't know. But I've just been noticing that it feels like people in general are off kilter.
Yeah.
Like there is something going on all around. Chantel said, lost my faith in humanity. Yeah, there's something going around that is not, and I've noticed it in others, and I've noticed it in myself, that I approach things in a different way these days. I get really worked up about things that I probably wouldn't have gotten worked up about earlier. I've noticed people acting strangely, just not being their normal self. I've noticed, just look at, I know college football is not the best example, but everybody has been talking about, ESPN has been talking about how many fights broke out on Rivalry Week, just on Friday and Saturday. Rivalry Week. There were like 9 fights or something like that with different schools. Not schools that wouldn't normally do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
North
Carolina doesn't fight.
No, North Carolina, no.
Like you would expect it from an Ohio State University.
No, but they got pepper sprayed. The police crew there was like, nope, we're not doing it. And they were.
If they used the proper article, they might have not gotten pepper sprayed.
Anyway, there's.
Sorry, grammar nerd.
There's something there, and I can't point exactly what it is, but I've just been trying to be quiet and to notice, and that's part of that. And I think some of that is the gift for Zechariah in this story, is that he can't say anything about it. All he can do is sit and be and watch and listen, and that's his participation in the story.
His contribution is his silence.
His contribution is his silence. Yeah. Julia said, everybody is impulsive and selfish, and I blame instant gratification culture and all the devices causing dopamine highs and lows. Yeah. And here's the thing. We've had those devices for a while, right? Like, we've had... I don't know why all of a sudden it's like it, but I feel like there is something, and I don't know what all the. I mean, does that kind of thing play into it? Of course. Does a pandemic where we all had a collective trauma that we've not really dealt with?
Nobody's dealt with it.
Does that play into it? I think so.
Does an election
where. And I'm not trying to get political with this, but I don't think that Americans, for the most part, would have voted for someone with that background. Like, I think there's something different about this, and I anyway, maybe I have too much hope in humanity or too much.
I'm a little
there.
less optimistic in,
Yeah.
in my perspective of it.
That makes sense. But there's something different, and so I wonder what areas in our lives need peace right now and silence. I wonder what areas in others' lives need peace and silence, and I wonder how peace and silence could benefit the rest of humanity right now. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, those are my thoughts for now.
I do find it really interesting that Zechariah and Mary have a very similar trajectory in the beginning of this story. And both sing a significant song. And typically, if you're reading biblical text, any kind of ancient literature, if there is a song that comes up, that's your cue to pay a little closer attention because something significant is happening. So my text that I am preaching on Sunday is Zechariah's song that is sung at John the Baptist. So he and Elizabeth give birth to John the Baptist, and
who we know is John the Baptist.
Who we know is John the Baptist. And John, in Hebrew tradition, on the 8th day, a little boy is named and circumcised in the temple. And so it was at that ritual, at that service, that Zechariah could finally speak. And instead of speaking, he sang. His song mirrors almost identically the song that Mary sang when she went to visit Elizabeth. And remember, Zechariah is present and just looking on because he can't say anything. So his silence allowed him to pay attention, and his silence allowed him to amplify the voices of the women in the story. When he finally came around to speaking. And so I didn't write any of this down that I was going to say anything about this, but I do think it's really significant that we've got an almost parallel track with Mary and Zechariah singing a similar song in the same chapter, and yet we've got Zechariah being silent. And that song is birthed out of silence, out of noticing, out of paying attention to the women. And so there is something significant happening here, gender-wise, that it is the man who is silent. Mm-hmm. Like, not only is Mary's song, and we'll talk about Mary's song in a couple of weeks, but not only is in Mary's song, she's like talking about how Jesus is going to flip power structures on their heads and lift up the lowly and humble the mighty and make every hill flat and lift up the valleys. And so there are these like significant power shifts going on, and it is the man who is made silent. And so I think it's a significant implicit thing that's happening where the women are the ones who give voice to this miracle, and it is the male who is silent and invited to create space for the amplification of the women.
Mary's song is in Luke. Is it in Matthew? In Matthew as well? I can't remember.
No, I think it's just Luke.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
I don't think Zechariah is in Matthew at all.
I'm not sure.
But I feel like there's this... That's interesting that... because Luke over and over again has a particular...
Luke is all about power dynamics, flipping.
And flipping with women in particular.
With women and with the poor.
Yeah.
So it's just a really interesting... Zechariah's song is not original. It begins just like Mary's song. Mm-hmm. But it is fascinating. Then he also shifts it to the end to talk about John, his son. In the there's our friend Renee. Congratulations, Reverend Doctor. But so not only like does he begin like Mary, but he also then kind of shifts to then talk about John, who's going to be preparing the way. And to me, what I find interesting about this is that there are two different kinds of peace that we can create in the world, like to create peace for ourselves. There's the peace of seclusion, of building walls around oneself to protect yourself from action that is happening outside of those walls. This would be the peace that monastics get, right? When they're in the convent or in whatever, desert monastery where they are. So there is a peace that you can create by putting up walls to separate you from other people. And then there is the peace that you can create by engaging in action that builds it from the ground up.
And which requires deep listening.
Which requires deep listening, yeah. And I think that's what John does. I think that's what Zechariah is alluding to John doing. He says that John will guide our feet in the way of peace. Guide our feet. There is an action to that. That we're not just walling off ourselves. And I was thinking about this. We've been, we had like a weird thing happen with our dog, and like my first reaction when I encounter anything that's going to cause pain is to wall myself off, to create peace by just not engaging in anything that's going to make me vulnerable. I started thinking about that when I was like going down that road of like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen to this dog who's like my soulmate? No offense. But I was like, oh, never should have gotten a dog. Like wall myself off. But then I realized like that is not the way to create peace. That is not the way to by walling oneself off from anything that could hurt you. Is not the way to create truest peace. It's to engage. It's to move your feet. It's to,
It's to love really well.
It's to love hard and to engage deeply. So I think this whole sense of like peace by isolation versus peace by action is really playing for me with my heartstrings. Like the temptation though, Julia, you're right. Like give up and live on a commune. It makes sense. That is real. And my sense is that even on a commune, there are going to be things that disrupt peace.
That's right.
Like we can only wall ourselves off so much.
Yep. This takes me back to Egypt, and this time always takes me back to Egypt because it was around the end of Christmas whenever we left and were there. My other students, and we went to a bunch of the desert monasteries outside of Cairo.
Yeah.
And I appreciated what they did in those desert monasteries, and to try and to preserve some things, and that's how we have some of the art, the oldest art in the world,
right,
is from there. But at the same time, they had to build up so many walls. They had to build up ways to fight. They had to build these special doors. They had to build all these different things in place because people were still coming at them, right?
They still experienced the things that would disrupt peace.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
the question is, that might be one way to go about it. Is there a way to work toward turning it
to truly subvert the forces and principalities and powers, if you want to use biblical language, that are going to be the ones that are going to transgress any walls that are built.
Yeah.
So ultimately, those forces and principalities and powers have to be addressed. And we can only wall ourselves off for so long before our hearts are consumed by whatever it is that is disrupting the artificial peace that we've created with our walls.
So listening in this, and then the action of peace.
Yeah, it's like listening and action are two sides of the same coin.
Interesting how that works.
Yeah.
Well, I got deep and serious really fast, and yeah. But I'm glad that others on this, Chantel and Julia and Gloria, or Renee, talked about the similar feelings about things needing the shift.
Yeah.
And things shifting around us.
Yeah.
It does feel like it's kind of unstable ground.
It is. And my inclination when I'm on unstable ground is to draw within. Is to turn inward.
Yeah. Is
to put up those walls. Is to protect myself from anything that could hurt me. And therefore, any other opportunities for love and vulnerability that could create something beautiful in the world.
You're right. Yeah. I think about all those phrases about whenever you lose something, someone you love, the grief process is out of that love. You know what I mean? Like it's anyway, I don't know how that plays into this, but we've done some talking. We need to do some toasting. And if you have a toast to share, chime on in.
Yeah.
Cheers. Let's
Cheers
do it.
to you.
What you got, Katie?
Cheers to you, my friends. And as you go from wherever you are, from this place to that, remember that there are only so many walls you can build before we have to engage with the things that break our hearts, because it's there with broken hearts that we find love, and we can find wholeness, and we can find healing, and we can find community.
And may you remember that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Cheers. Cheers, y'all.
May you not have to be struck dumb to listen. I mean, struck mute to listen. Yeah. No, never mind. Well, friends, this has been fun. Thank you all for participating in this tonight. And we'll continue to watch comments and things throughout the week. So if you have something you'd like to share and add to the conversation, we'd love to see it.
And I just want to say the commune is very tempting, Julia. Very tempting.
It's good stuff.